Hey guys, so this week we are talking about the Campbell, Thompson, and Barrett article. And in Hannah's prompt, she asked us to look at the six different um, methods in the article and kind of talk about how we want to use one of them in our own classroom. And I think the biggest one that stood out to me was using music that is relevant to your students. I know the first thing that it talked about was cultural relevancy. So if you have a classroom that, for example, maybe you're teaching with the Peace Corps and you are in a totally different country, it's not going to be culturally relevant to be using all of the songs that you would use in an American classroom, because you're going to have songs that are more that are from that country that are more tailored to those students' needs. It also You also need to look at the diversity within your own classroom if you are teaching in an American classroom, because you're going to have different students from different backgrounds, and it's important to be able to connect to them culturally and make sure that they feel like they're getting the same kind of attention and feeling like they're just as important in your classroom as your other students. Another big thing that the article talked about was using music that's actually relevant. And I kind of interpreted that in two different ways. One is it relevant to the curriculum that you're teaching, and whether that be in the academic classroom or in the music classroom? And is the music relevant to modern times? So are we listening to songs or learning songs that are appropriate for modern times? Because I know that some songs use language that may not be appropriate, or stereotypes that may not be appropriate. And so we really need to look at those kinds of things and make sure, are these things that I want to be exposing my students to, that I feel comfortable exposing my students to? And then being actually relevant to the students. Am I listening to music and sharing music with them that is modern and relevant to their own times? Now, I'm not saying that it's bad to listen to the older music, to listen to folk music or study folk music or classical music. Obviously, that's an integral part of a music education. But it's also good to show students where their music education is going to fit into their own likes and dislikes of modern music. I know in one of my classrooms in high school, I had a student teacher who actually took the song Empire State of Mind and broke it all down and explained, like we all talked about, what each of the different parts meant and how it related to like poetry and that kind of thing. And that lesson obviously really stuck with me, because that was almost 9 years ago, and I'm still remembering that, and I still find it pretty relevant to my education. And so that's something that I'd love to be able to do in my own classroom, is to take music that my kids are listening to now and be able to apply it to my my lessons and make them feel like that kind of music is going to be relevant to their own education. I know a lot of teachers now are becoming like Facebook famous for taking modern songs, modern raps, and changing them into an educational aspect. I know like Juju on That Beat is one of those songs that teachers are always like taking apart and like changing the words to it and making it fit in with their lesson, and they do the dance moves and the kids get super into it. And so if the kids are actually enjoying themselves, like, why would we not do that, So I also remember that a lot of times when I was a student, teachers who took songs and made them relevant to the lesson, I was more likely to remember that lesson, like the quadratic formula, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Like, I don't need to know that. Like, I've never used that. And Yeah, I still remember it from my freshman year of high school. So, those kinds of things, singing Spanish words to Lady Gaga songs, I remember that very well. But other math formulas, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you anything about them. And yet, here I am with the quadratic formula all memorized because it was put to song. So, I think that making sure that things are relevant to my students, that the music is actually helping them learn, and it's actually benefiting them and furthering the curriculum is going to be a great way to actually connect with my students.